about the flagrant one foul on Caitlin Clark. She was fouled when she was shooting a three-pointer and ended up being a landing space foul. And this was from Alana Smith. And again, you guys know I love Alana Smith. I don't think this was a dirty play. I don't actually even feel like this was a reckless play. Alana Smith was just kind of out of control tonight. Honestly, I don't really know what was going on because she normally doesn't make plays like this. But she went to block Caitlin Clark. She got in her landing space. She landed on top of Caitlin Clark. And Caitlin Clark looked hurt. I don't know if this is an injury, okay? I'm not truly going to speculate. I'm not going to go overboard with this, but when she did get up, she was wincing and she was kind of...
The entire arena froze the moment Caitlin Clark crashed to the floor in a tangle of bodies, and Paige Smith came down hard after contesting that three, and in an instant the energy drained out of the building. Paige Bueckers stood just a few feet away watching it unfold. Rival friend and competitor all at once as Caitlin Clark struggled to get up, clearly shaken and limping toward the bench. This was not just another preseason scare. This felt like a season-shifting moment. The tension had been building possession after possession, but this right here snapped everything. Seeing the face of the franchise unable to stand comfortably was the kind of nightmare scenario no team, no fan, and no league ever wants to witness.
Game. Obviously, she sees the floor very well. So Paige Bueckers had a great game. I also loved the fact that Paige and Caitlin were guarding each other for most of the games, and even for most of the game, And even if you look at their statistics, Paige had 20 points, she had 2 rebounds, 3 assists, and also 1 steal. They were pretty evenly matched. Paige played 20 minutes on the night. Now, somebody who was 100% from the field for most of the first half was Maddie Siegrist. She was playing lights out. She ended the game with 18 points and 11 rebounds. Azzi Fudd tonight, she only played for a few minutes in the first quarter, and then she got into foul trouble really early. And there was a time during the...
Before everything took that frightening turn, we were watching something special unfold. Paige Bueckers came out with a statement performance that felt personal. She was not easing into the season. She was attacking it, knocking down shots from deep with confidence that bordered on disrespect, drilling 4 of 6 from beyond the arc, and making it look effortless. Every step back, every release, every possession screamed preparation and purpose. This was not just a hot start, this was a message to everyone who questioned her health, her game, or her return. Paige Bueckers looked locked in and ready to take everything back.
I think when Aaliyah Boston is back into the mix, that is going to help them. And if the Indiana Fever are able to get Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark, and Aaliyah Boston all firing, that is when it's scary hours. That is when you have 3 first-team all WNBA players who are working as a unit, who are all able to get open looks, who are all able to stay in rhythm on the court. That is when this team is going to be very scary. If they're not able to do that, then this team's not going to be very scary. This team could honestly be mediocre. Okay. And again, it's a preseason game, not overreacting. They're trying a bunch of different things. One other thing that I will mention, though, on the defensive end,
but Caitlin Clark was never going to let the spotlight drift too far. She answered the moment exactly the way superstars do, finishing with 21 points, 4 assists, and 2 rebounds, while looking far more settled than her previous outing. What stood out was not just the numbers, it was control. The pace shifted, the offense came alive, and the entire team moved differently when she had the ball in her hands. The Indiana Fever looked sharper, faster, and more connected, with Caitlin Clark orchestrating everything. This is the kind of evolution that should put the entire league on notice.
Again, when you match up with them in the regular season. Now, on top of that, Paige Bueckers had an outstanding game. And the thing that I noticed about Paige Bueckers' games, it seemed like she really worked on her three-point shooting during the offseason. She was 4 for 6 from 3. And I don't just mean that she worked on it as in now she's able to make three-pointers. She's always been able to make three-pointers. And that was something that actually frustrated me a little bit last season, is I wanted Paige to shoot more threes than she was actually shooting. Now she's not scared to shoot them. Like, there was a time that she was shooting step back threes in this game, and she was so hot from 3. Paige is a very efficient player. So I was so impressed with that aspect of their game, because she's going to be...
The real electricity came when Paige Bueckers and Caitlin Clark went straight at each other, guarding one another like it actually mattered. This was not preseason energy, this was playoff intensity packed into every possession. They mirrored each other on the stat sheet, with 20 and 21 points, trading buckets like heavyweights, refusing to back down. Every shot was answered, every move challenged, and beneath it all you could feel both the respect and the rivalry. It is rare to see 2 stars of this level compete this hard this early, and the crowd knew it. They were watching something bigger than just a game.
4 assists, 2 rebounds, and 1 steal. But one thing that I notice about the Indiana Fever's offense is it almost feels like there's an offense that they run that suits Caitlin Clark better, and there's an offense that they run that suits Kelsey Mitchell better. And when they are running either one of those offenses, it might not work for the other player. We saw a couple connections between Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell in the second half of the game, but if we watched the last preseason game, I told you guys, it looked like the Indiana Fever were picking up where they left off at the end of last season, which I felt like that offense is catered more to a Kelsey Mitchell style of play. But then to start off the game today,
Then everything shifted on one play. Aloni Smith committed a flagrant one that immediately raised alarms across the arena. It was a dangerous landing space violation. She went up to contest, but came down directly onto Caitlin Clark, sending her crashing hard to the floor. It did not look intentional, but it absolutely looked reckless, and in that moment, it did not matter what the intent was. The damage was the concern. Caitlin Clark stayed down clearly in pain, and the Fever bench reacted instantly, calling timeout as the reality set in. One bad fall in a meaningless game can change everything.
Missing Aaliyah Boston and Lexi Hall. And they're specifically very much missing Aaliyah Boston because the Fever looked so small out there. And even if you look at the total rebounds, the Indiana Fever were out-rebounded 45-26 tonight, you guys. And so many points for the Dallas Wings came off of second chance buckets, third chance buckets, fourth chance buckets. And the crazy thing is like the Dallas Wings aren't even big. Okay. And that's why a lot of us during the free agency period, we were wondering why the Indiana Fever were signing so many guards, because it seems like they are already guard heavy. Like, do we want any backup bigs? And obviously they signed Monique Billings. They signed
Coach Stephanie White wasted no time making the call, pulling Caitlin Clark immediately after the free throws, even if she was likely done for the night anyway. This felt different. This felt urgent. The medical staff was already on edge after last season, and seeing their franchise cornerstone hobble off only heightened that concern. The move was labeled precautionary, but the possibility of her missing the next matchup against the Nigerian national team tells you there may be more going on behind the scenes. Caitlin Clark is the engine of this team, and without her, everything changes.
And then she got into foul trouble really early. And there was a time during the live stream that I was asking you guys, I was like, where's AZ Fudd? Why is she not playing? Am I missing something? Like, what's going on? I didn't realize that she had racked up 3 fouls right away. And so AZ Fudd's debut into the WNBA wasn't her best. Am I worried about it? No, I think she'll be fine. I think she'll adjust. But I think those 3 fouls, it definitely, like, that's hard. You get 3 fouls early and then you're not playing for the whole first half. And then when she went back in, she just didn't look that comfortable. But I do think that she'll be fine. She ended the game with 4 points. And then Odyssey Sims, I was actually rooting for Odyssey Sims because I loved her on the Indiana Fever last year. I feel like she came in as a hardship
The biggest development of the night might actually belong to Paige Bueckers and her evolution from deep last season. There were constant questions about her willingness to shoot from range, but those doubts look outdated now. She was not just taking open looks, she was creating them using elite footwork and a lightning quick release to generate space against defenders. Her step-back 3 has become a real weapon, and if this version of her sticks, she is not just a star, she is entering MVP territory. Her mid-range game was already elite. Now, with this added dimension, she becomes nearly impossible to guard.
I want to talk about Justine Passat for a second because she was listed out for today's game, but then Coach Stephanie White was actually talking about the injury with Justine, and she said that it's been lingering since college, and she said that they're going to get her checked out. They're going to do whatever they can to help her heal up. That worries me. It truly does. If it's something lingering that's been happening for over multiple years, that's not a good sign for Justine. And I will say, you guys, if it's something that's any sort of serious injury, I don't think Justine gets a roster spot. And I know a lot of Indiana Fever fans are really wanting her on the team, and they kind of see the potential. She's 6'4". She shoots really, really well from 3. She's not a star player.
While the highlights and star power grabbed attention, there is a serious problem quietly building for the Indiana Fever, and it starts in the paint, because what happened on the glass in this game was not just a bad night, it was a warning sign that could define their entire season. They were dominated physically and completely outworked on the boards, losing the rebounding battle 45-26 against a Dallas Wings team that is not even known for overwhelming size, and that is what makes it even more concerning. This was not about 1 or 2 unlucky bounces. This was about positioning, effort, timing, and toughness. Dallas was consistently getting second, third, and even fourth opportunities on the same possession, while Indiana looked lost, reacting instead of anticipating, and that kind of imbalance will destroy you once the regular season begins. The Fever looked undersized, disconnected, and at times completely unaware of where the ball was coming off the rim, and when you combine that with weak interior presence, it creates a cycle where stops do not matter because you cannot finish the possession. On top of that, Aloni Smith had one of the most erratic performances you will see, turning the ball over 5 times in chaotic fashion with some passes so off target they ended up in the stands. Yet somehow, even with that instability, Dallas still controlled the physical battle, which says everything about Indiana right now. Then you have Maddie Siegrist stepping in and delivering a breakout performance that exposed even more gaps, finishing with 18 points and 11 rebounds, and providing the kind of consistency and energy Indiana simply could not match. She was everywhere, making smart plays, finishing strong, and punishing the Fever every time they failed to box out. Meanwhile, Aaliyah Fudd struggled in her debut, picking up early fouls and never finding rhythm, which is understandable but still highlights how difficult the transition can be when you cannot stay on the floor long enough to adjust. And beyond individual performances, there is a deeper issue brewing with the offensive identity, especially between Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell, because right now it looks like two completely different systems trying to coexist, one built on movement and vision, the other on isolation scoring, and when those styles collide the result is confusion and stalled possessions. They showed flashes of connection, but flashes are not enough when expectations are this high. Add to that the absence of Aaliyah Boston, which was impossible to ignore because without her the defense had no anchor, no rim protection, and no control of the paint, and suddenly everything starts to unravel. The rotations were late, the communication was off, and Dallas took full advantage, finding open looks and easy putbacks again and again. Even players like Nalissa Smith had moments where they looked overwhelmed defensively despite showing flashes of athleticism later in the game, and when your front court cannot consistently secure rebounds or protect the rim, it puts pressure on every other part of the system. Then you factor in players like Odyssey Sims bringing veteran presence and doing all the small things right for Dallas, and it becomes even clearer how far Indiana still has to go to match that level of discipline and cohesion. The potential is obvious, the talent is there, but right now it feels incomplete, and until they fix these issues in the paint and establish a clear identity, they are going to struggle against teams that are simply more physical, more organized, and more prepared to win the dirty battles that decide games.